and your appreciation. I also extend gratitude to the government officials, ministries, departments, and agencies, and all our permanent secretaries present for your commitment to service initiative. Our marketplace exhibitors, sponsors, and partners, heads of mission, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council, volunteers, members of the security forces, and all supporting organizations whose contributions have helped to make this conference possible. As we embark on our promises to be a productive and engaging conference, let us remain focused on opportunity. Let us embrace innovation, strengthen cooperation, and commit ourselves to finding solutions that will create a more prosperous, inclusive, and resilient future for all Jamaicans. It is my sincere hope that each of you leaves this conference enriched by new knowledge, inspired by new perspectives, and motivated to contribute even more effectively within your respective fields, communities, and countries of residence. Together, let us harness the power of partnership, innovation, and shared purpose as we continue to build a stronger, more resilient Jamaica. With those remarks, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to declare the 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference open and wish you every success in your deliberations. Thank you.
Felicidades, Senor. So, in other words, our Minister of State is saying that this is not a talk shop. We are to stay curious, open our minds, open our hearts, that we are to collaborate, network, and connect. But we shouldn't just talk about it. We should then go into planning, and then we should go into implementation. So thank you so very much, because it now means that we are officially into our program with our very first plenary. And it is on mobilizing diaspora trade and investment for a resilient Jamaica. Our plenaries are intended to be interactive. There will be knowledge exchange, but we just would like to remind you that when you're asking your questions, we do have standing mics that you can go and ask your questions there. For those of you who are using your AITIX conference app, you may also plug in your questions there. And for those of you watching online, you may also use the digital platform to submit your questions as well. So this conversation goes to the very heart of why our legacy partners, institutions like Jamaica National, whose CEO chairs this very conference, continue to invest in building bridges between the diaspora and home. Our moderator for this session is Catherine Silvero, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association. She has the honor, she has the task of introducing not only her panelists, but the presentations at hand. Please make her welcome.
Good morning, everyone. And as Terry Pearl has so effectively set protocols, I'm going to go straight into introducing the panel. Jamaicans are famous for finding opportunities everywhere. Give us a conversation, and by the end of it, we've identified a business opportunity, a potential export market, and at least 3 people who know somebody who can help. This entrepreneurial spirit and global network have been a tremendous asset to Jamaica for generations. While remittances continue to play an important role in supporting families and communities, today's discussion invites us to think about the next chapter: how we can unlock greater levels of investment, trade, innovation, and knowledge transfer from our diaspora to build a stronger, more resilient Jamaica. This conversation comes at a critical time as Jamaica seeks to strengthen its productive sectors, expand value-added manufacturing, and increase its presence in international markets. The diaspora has an important role to play. We are fortunate to be joined by an exceptional panel, and I look forward to hearing their insights on how we can transform global Jamaican connections into tangible opportunities that drive jobs, create growth, and build a more prosperous future for our country. Firstly, I would like to welcome the Honorable Delano Seabright, Jamaica's Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, popularly known as a specialist. He has influenced policy and legislation on investment, tourism, economic growth, and cannabis law reform. Please put your hands together and welcome Minister Seabright to the stage.
Thank you, Madam Catherine. Thank you all for being here. You know, I'm usually terrified about these stairs. And I just all had this phobia about falling down on them and how embarrassing it will be and how quickly I will get back to my feet. So anyway, just wanted you all to know that. So of course, Minister Camila Johnson-Smith, Minister of State Alonzo Terrelon, the amazing team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, led by your permanent secretary. Please give them a round of applause. Of course, I'd have to acknowledge the President of JAMPRO, Sholette Cox, and of course the CEO of JASESA, Kelly Dawn Hamilton, and the amazing team within the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Of course, I have to give we need to give a rousing round of applause for you, the diaspora, for being here this morning. Thank you. Let me begin by, of course, thanking again the organizers of this 11th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference and all of you who have traveled from throughout the world, I believe 14 countries, to be here in Jamaica today. Minister Aubin Hill, who's the Minister in charge of the Industry, Investment and Commerce Ministry, is absolutely excited about your presence, and he will be here with you tomorrow. Before I get into serious business, let me make an observation. I've discovered that Jamaicans abroad are among the most patriotic people in the world. Some of you left 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I don't want to age you any further. Yet, every election, every budget presentation, every news story, every road project, every famous pothole, every football match, somehow it finds its way into your WhatsApp or your WhatsApp group chat. And the lovely thing about technology is that we're all in those WhatsApp chats, and I have to be defending and troubleshooting my own family chats issues that will arise. Some of you know exactly what is happening in your own communities in St. Ann, Westmoreland, Clarendon, Kingston, and beyond. And some of you left Jamaica when Jimmy Carter was president, when Ronald Reagan was president. I don't know if anybody here left Jamaica when John F. Kennedy or Lyndon B. Johnson were president. But my message today is simple. If you have been thinking about buying that piece of land, investing in that business, partnering in that development, building that warehouse, starting that modern farm, opening that business operation, or returning home, now is the time to start moving. So Michelle Todd-O'Neill, Dr. Binzi Roy Davidson, Janice McIntosh, Ananda, Solange, Zoe, Marcus, Patrick, Abigail, Leo Campbell, Lisa Rotti, Stephen Gettin, Ramon Stoltz, all of you have leadership roles to play in driving that message to our respective diasporas overseas. Because Jamaica is changing, and many people are beginning to notice. In fact, many foreign investors have already noticed. The question is whether enough Jamaicans abroad have noticed. We're meeting at a very unusual moment in global history. The world is becoming more uncertain. We have conflicts all over the place. Global supply chains remain under pressure. Trade relationships are evolving. Geopolitical alliances appear to be shifting. Many experts now speak openly about the emergence of a more multipolar world. And AI, of course, is upending everything. So at the same time, Many of the countries where our diaspora reside are grappling with serious challenges of their own. Increasing inflation, housing affordability issues, growing public debt, aging infrastructure, rising living costs, and increasingly uncertainty about the future. Because while we are not immune to global challenges here in Jamaica, we are certainly stronger, more stable, more investment ready than at any point in our modern history, and that deserves a round of applause. So of course, let us start with the fundamentals. 5 years ago, in June 2021, the Jamaican dollar traded at approximately 150 Jamaican dollars to $1 US. Today, June 15, 2026, we're averaging 157 Jamaican dollars to $1 US. That's compared to June 1990, when the Jamaican dollar traded at $7, and in 5 years, June 1995, the dollar galloped to 35 Jamaican dollars to $1, fivefold. So in a world where many currencies have experienced severe volatility, Jamaica's exchange rate has remained remarkably stable. Our net international reserves now stands at approximately $6.5 billion US, and this is just months after a Category 5 hurricane. The international benchmark is roughly 12 weeks of import cover. Jamaica currently sits at about 34 weeks of import cover, so that's nearly 3 times the international benchmark. And that is a remarkable position again for a small developing nation, literally emerging from a Category 5+ hurricane. Inflation, while still a challenge for families and businesses, remains comparatively well managed. We have maintained fiscal discipline, and importantly, we went approximately a decade, 10 years, without introducing new taxes pre-Hurricane Melissa. Huge achievement. Now that level of stability, investors notice it, banks notice it, rating agencies notice it, and increasingly global capital notices it. Political stability matters too. Jamaica remains one of the most stable and vibrant democracies anywhere in the developing world. In 2016, Prime Minister Andrew Holness won a general election by one single constituency. One constituency. Yet there was no unrest, there was no instability, no constitutional crisis. The democratic process in Jamaica works, and our institutions are strong. Many countries cannot say the same. Last year, Jamaica faced one of the greatest tests in our history with Hurricane Melissa. The damage exceeded $12 billion US, or 1.9 trillion Jamaican dollars, over 50% of our country's GDP. Entire communities were affected, critical infrastructure damage, businesses suffered losses, families suffered immense hardship and losses too. Yet Jamaica responded, the private sector responded, and you, the diaspora, responded. Thank you. And also our international partners responded. Today, approximately $6.7 billion US in financing support has been assembled through multilateral institutions, including the World Bank, the IMF, IDB, CAF, and CDD, to support reconstruction and long-term resilience. And this happened in record time. Why? Because of the amazing economic governance and stability led by Prime Minister the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. The National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority has been established to help guide and coordinate this historic rebuilding effort. And you'll get more details on that throughout the conference. I know Ambassador Tony Anderson should be here too. Jamaica did not collapse under the pressure. Jamaica adapted, Jamaica stabilized, and Jamaica is rebuilding stronger. In fact, many investors looked at how Jamaica responded and became even more confident. Ladies and gentlemen, the investment story unfolding across Jamaica is truly extraordinary. Last year, Accelerate Energy out of the United States acquired New Fortress Energy's liquefied natural gas assets in Jamaica for $1.05 billion with a B US dollars. The downstream infrastructure portfolio includes operations in Montego Bay, Old Harbour, Clarendon, and beyond. Amaranth, which is a major New York Stock Exchange listed building materials and construction company, recently acquired Jamaica Aggregates, the island's largest producer of sand and stone. We continue to see this continued expansion of Sandals Resorts International. We are looking at a near $1 billion US investment just down the road from here in Moon Palace, and also another near $600 million US investment by Hard Rock just down the road, and also the Unico Resorts that's under construction just down the road. Those two towers that you see going up there, that's a $250 million US investment by a Mexican resort conglomerate. So Jamaica is growing. We also, of course, see major expansion happening for Grand Palladium in Hannibal. That's a 400 million euros investment. We, of course, saw the opening of Princess Resorts in Hannibal. And, of course, we have Harmony Cove in Trelawney, which is also coming along. We also see major logistics investments. The Port of Kingston has solidified its position among the world's 100 top container ports. You hear that? The Port of Kingston is one of the world's 100 top container ports. And of course, manufacturing expansions by companies such as Grace Kennedy, Wisynco, Sepron. Just recently, Wisynco expanded the production footprint to a $35 million US investment in a new 300,000 square foot brewery and manufacturing facility located in St. Catherine, Jamaica. We also have a new Price Mart coming to Montego Bay for those who like to shop in bulk. It will be down the road and should be open within a year. And of course, the continued growth of the BPO and global services sector, which supports about 50,000 jobs. So it's not just tourism, it is also logistics, it's manufacturing, it's technology, it's energy, it's healthcare, it's distribution, it's agriculture, it's mining, it's housing, it's commercial real estate, it's infrastructure. And Kingston has been transformed over the last decade. You look at Kingston now, there are new apartments, new commercial developments. We had 4 new hotels constructed in the last 10 years, the AC Marriott, the Courtyard Marriott, the Rock Hilton, and the R Hotel, and we have several more to go. We have office space, mixed-use projects, and on the North Coast, we're seeing increases in investments across the entire corridor spanning St. Mary through to Hannibal. And increasingly, we're seeing investments in Southwest Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and we see a lot of developments happening on that front. Infrastructure is also helping to drive our growth story here in Jamaica. The Montego Bay Perimeter Road, which is a new highway, should be completed in a few months. Rings Montego Bay, so we will get you out of that constant congestion of traveling through the city of Montego Bay itself. It really is a game changer. We also have the Long Hill Bypass, which will stretch from the Montego Bay Perimeter Road that will go further south into St. James and get into Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth half the time. We also have planned extensions from Montego Bay through to Hannibal, bypassing Hopewell, Sandy Bay, and Lucy. Say hallelujah to that one, please. And the planned toll road connection, you have seen the North-South Highway, a lot of you traveling from Ocho to Kingston. There's going to be new spin-offs that will bypass Draxall, St. Anne's Bay, Priory, Richmond, and Salem, and Runaway Bay, going west, and also going east, bypassing the town of Ocho and dropping it straight into St. Mary. Say amen to that too. And of course, we'll have the modernization of the Cornwall Regional Hospital, which is finally coming to a close, the planned New Kingston Public Hospital, the planned Negril International Airport, yes, a new international airport is in the works in the parish of Westmoreland, and of course, the upgrade of the Treasure Beach Airdrome to facilitate private jet traffic. Isn't that exciting? I think Binti here, the police here, will possibly love that news. So these projects are shaping how people move, invest, and do business. And our Prime Minister and our Minister of Finance and our Minister of Industry and the entire team is committed to that. One major issue we want to point out, of course, which is a major success factor, and I see it on the agenda for the conference, and Dr. Orestran will speak to it, is crime. The facts are encouraging. In 2025, Jamaica recorded approximately 673 murders, one too many. However, a decline of approximately 43%, that represents a decline of approximately 43% over the 1,100 murders in 2024. And it is nearly half, or less than half, the total number of murders in 2023, which was 1,400. So the lowest level of major crimes in more than 3 decades. That is the story of Jamaica today. And the downward trends continue. Murders so far this year are down 23% on a record-setting year 2025. So please give that a round of applause here. And give our security forces, our police, and our Ministry of National Security, an amazing team there, a round of applause for the work that they continue to do. So, it is a result of sustained investment, intelligence-led policing, stronger institutions, and planned secure Jamaica, supported by approximately 90 billion Jamaican dollars in national security investments led by the Prime Minister and Dr. Chan, our National Security Minister. I want to also speak briefly about agriculture and agro-processing, but I leave some of that to Jampro and Minister Floyd Green, where there are also amazing game-changing developments happening in agriculture as we speak in Jamaica today. There are also tremendous opportunities on that front, and you will get more details on that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my concern is not whether Jamaica's future is bright. The evidence is already there. My concern is whether Jamaicans themselves will own enough of that future. Because while international investors are lining up around the block and investing billions of dollars across Jamaica, too many Jamaicans are still watching from the sidelines. Too many. Every Jamaican should aspire to own a meaningful piece of this country. Land, property, a factory, a warehouse, shares on the stock exchange, technology companies, farms, tourism assets, Airbnbs, whatever it is. Whatever fits your means and your ambitions. We want to see more ownership, we want to see more generational wealth developed, and we want more economic participation by the diaspora. And there has never been a better time to start than now. The opportunities are real, and those who move early will benefit the most. So my challenge to every Jamaican abroad is simple. Do not wait until everybody else tells you Jamaica is a place to invest. By then, you may be too late. Come home, invest, partner, build, own. Because the next chapter of Jamaica's story is being written right now. And many Jamaicans, whether at home or abroad, should have a stake in it. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Minister. And boy, it took 10 minutes to tell us the millions to billions of US dollar investment that is being made both locally and internationally. So another round of applause. At this time, I'd also like to invite another panelist who will make a short presentation. Shillette Cox is the president of JAMPRO, Jamaica's national agency responsible for promoting exports, attracting investment, and strengthening business opportunities across the country. She has over 20 years of experience at JAMPRO and has played pivotal roles in advancing Jamaica's economic development and competitiveness. Please welcome Shillette.
Good morning, everybody. I'm waiting on that presentation to come up. So it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you this morning. I want to recognize Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Honorable Alonzo Terrelong, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, my own Minister of State, the Honorable Delana Seabright in the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and as Catherine said, Jamaica's Business Ministry. Also want to recognize all of our legacy partners, the fabulous Foreign Affairs team, and you members of the diaspora. I'm going to go as quickly as I can this morning, but we thought it was very important, following on what the Minister said, that we share with you some of the opportunities that exist for investments. Because we believe that it is important that our diaspora members engage with us, that our diaspora members see the opportunities that exist in Jamaica. So first of all, who are we at JAMPRO? Most of you do know who JAMPRO is, but just to reinforce for those who don't, we have 4 key mandates. We secure overseas markets for Jamaican exporters. So that means when you go into your local supermarket or you visit your corner shop and you see Jamaican products, Jamper is responsible to making sure that you have your favorite products right on your corner. We facilitate your investments, and that is foreign investments, local investments, and very importantly, diaspora investments. We advocate. So our interface with private sector makes sure that we understand the challenges that are faced by business people, and we work through our ministry to make changes and make it easier to do business. And lastly, we facilitate linkages opportunities. So it's not enough to get investments into Jamaica. We want to make sure that they buy Jamaican and that they build the economy beyond their investments. So I'll jump over a lot of these slides. Some quick facts on Jamaica. You know a lot of these already, you're Jamaican. But our value proposition, the first one I want to talk about is our strong logistic-focused economy with a skilled workforce. Minister spoke about a lot of the numbers that exist. One of them that I want to add to it is that we have 3 standards credit rating agencies that rate our economy. And it's worth noting that in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, one of the worst hurricanes to hit this world, not just our country, all 3 still gave Jamaica incredible ratings and have our outlook for our economy at stable. And that's a very strong message, not being sent by just the government of Jamaica, but by our international partners that are looking at the success that we have made of our economy. Our connectivity. We have 3 international airports. Minister mentioned that we're about to have a 4th, but we have almost 1,000 flights per week coming in and out of Jamaica, using 39 airlines with direct flights going as far as Europe. Our port connectivity is also very strong with 6 seaports, and at Kingston Container Terminal we have a capacity of 3.2 million TEUs. We are one of the few ports in this region that can take vessels coming out of the expanded Panama Canal. 14,000 20-foot containers, if you can imagine that, are passing through our ports and connecting us to 140 ports globally. Our workforce. A lot of people talk to us at Jamper and they say, well, you now have a 3.6% unemployment rate as of January 2026. Where are we going to find people to work? And our Minister of Education, I'm sure we'll talk about it later today. I see PS with us this morning. We also have 750,000 people outside of the workforce that we're trying to figure out how do we get them in the workforce, not just for 9-to-5 jobs, but for businesses and investments, and how do we get them engaged? Through our 47 university and colleges and 28 higher trust training institutions. The second element of our value proposition is a stable, consistent, business-focused government. And about the stability of our political infrastructure, which cannot be denied. We also want to talk about the fact that the government has implemented a number of business reforms. You are all aware that we now have a minister responsible for efficiency and innovation. That shows the level of commitment that the government has made to making sure that it's easier to do business in our country. In terms of incentives, there are a couple of incentives that are very important that we understand. And anybody can access our incentives once you're a business person, if you're foreign or local diaspora. The first one, the Fiscal Incentives Act, anybody can get. So that's a graduated corporate income tax. Our banks at 33.33%, but most companies at 25%. Importantly, we have what is called an employment tax credit, which means the more people you employ, the more tax credit you get, and you can get down to an effective tax rate of 17.5%, which is phenomenal. We also have our special economic zone regime, which most of you might be familiar with our free zones. The special economic zone has a 12.5% corporate income tax rate. It has no import duties into those zones, no VAT or general consumption tax as we know it, and you can bring down your effective tax rate to 7.75%. The Special Economic Zone Authority is here with us this week at Diaspora Conference. We are sharing our booth in the marketplace. Talk to them about how you can enter the zone. Importantly, developers in a zone, those are people that build the infrastructure for the companies to come in, get no tax on rental income. Then there's the productive input relief, and we have those for agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, healthcare, and entertainment, where you have no duties on raw material and inputs into your company once you're properly registered, and there is no additional stamp duty. Other incentives include the Junior Stock Exchange, which I'm sure that Livingston will talk about this afternoon on his panel. The newest one is the Large Projects and Pioneering Industries Act, which gives tax incentives to projects that amount to over $1 billion, and the government is revisiting urban renewal taxes for investments in urban areas, downtown Kingston, Spanish Town, Montego Bay, Ocho, and you'll hear more about that. We also have a very vibrant trade agreement regime, and the country has been booming with infrastructure developments, highways being built, the Norman Manley Airport expansion, same for Sandstock, and investments in renewables. But I want to focus on the sector investment opportunities, starting with tourism. We're very familiar with some of the global brands that are in Jamaica, but there is space for more. Space for mixed-use developments. You heard Minister talk about Rock by Hilton, which is downtown Kingston, and it has restaurants at the bottom, hotel in the middle, residences at the top. And we're seeing a lot more of that kind of investments. And it's an investment that is very right for our diaspora who want to maintain a home in Jamaica, maybe want to put it on Airbnb half of the year. Those types of projects are facilitated. Accommodations, we continue to grow. We have a portfolio of almost 20,000 rooms over the next 8 years. And of course, attractions. As we start and continue to build out our cruise shipping industry, it's a big need to have more attractions that will inject income into our economy. Importantly, we are looking at diversifying our tourism product, and the eastern side of our island is very ripe for that. There's now ease of road access to Portland and St. Thomas through the infrastructure improvements that have been made by the government. The expansion of the Ian Fleming Airport in St. Mary means that international flights are now 30 minutes away from Portland. And we're targeting for luxury tourism, high-end villas that are exclusive, but also those looking at eco and community-based tourism. And we have some properties that are available. We have about 2 properties in East End in St. Thomas and Seaview in St. Thomas. And we have properties in Portland. And I'm sure that if you talk to the real estate agents, you'll get a lot more properties that are available. There are also properties available here in Montego Bay, right along the Resilient Corridor, that are available for investments. Westmoreland is not to be left out. There's a beautiful stretch of almost 2,000 acres in Westmoreland that is also ready for investments. For agribusiness, we're looking at orchard crops, we're looking at roots and tubers, things that we know have a ready export market. There are so many products that you or diaspora or even tourists that visit Jamaica want to buy from Jamaica, and we want investments in to make sure that we can export those products. And then, not just the raw products, but agro-processed. So not just mango, so that you can buy your favorite Julie mango on the corner shop, but pureed mango or dried mango. And the Agro-Investment Corporation also has a booth at the marketplace. This, if you can quickly scan this QR code, is a coverage of their entire bee book of opportunities that exist. I also want to quickly mention Caribbean broilers got very badly hit died in their hatchery in St. Anne by Hurricane Melissa. But being the Jamaicans that we are, we didn't see that as disappointment, we saw that as opportunity, and Caribbean Broilers is now relaunching their egg hatchery with a twist, and they're looking for farmers to be a part of their mother farm program to sell into a secure market through Caribbean Broilers. And we will be working with them to promote that opportunity, so stay tuned to Jumper to hear more about that. They're also looking at pig farming in a similar way. You've heard about our opportunities in logistics, supply chain, development of special economic zone, bulk shipping ports. We actually need a lot more limestone ports across the island. And you heard about our cargo services. Couple that with our non-food manufacturing, we have companies such as Grace Kennedy that are available for contract manufacturing. A lot of our companies have excess capacity if you want to white label your product or white label a product coming from Jamaica. The product assembly, for those of you in the UK, that you might want to tap into the North American or South American market, but it takes 3 weeks to get your goods here on a ship. You can do product assembly for just-in-time delivery in Jamaica, in our special economic zones. We import most of our packaging, and that is another opportunity for investments. And I want to highlight the Cayman Special Economic Zone, again, something that you will hear a lot more about if you talk to the SEC authority. Global digital services. There's a lot of talk about AI and what AI will do for our digital services. Our companies are AI ready. The Ministry of Education, Hard Trust is making sure that our employees are AI ready. And we have industries that are ready to facilitate that. And I can't not talk about film because we're doing a lot with film this year. We've been putting out a number of productions. We need a film studio, and with co-productions, we're inviting more companies to come home and invest in film. The last opportunity that I will mention is around energy. There is a thrust for the government to shift from its dependence on oil and shift into renewable energy. And there's a new RFP that is coming out in August this year, and the RFP is where you will signal your interest in investing in this sector, and they're asking for 220 megawatts of additional renewable generation and 110 megawatts of battery energy storage systems. And again, follow Jampro and you will hear more about these opportunities, because ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to do business in Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalette. And to be honest, we can just go home now. The panel, you took the panel, but you spoke about a lot that is very near and dear to my heart, especially the agro-invest and the value-added manufacturing. So thank you for that. I would like at this time to introduce the two remaining panelists that we have, who are actually diaspora returnees. First up, we have Sharon Ropo. She's an angel investor, business mentor, and venture capital advisor with extensive experience supporting startups and SMEs across the Caribbean. As fractional COO to M-Scale LLC's Caribbean Venture Capital Fund, she supports founders in refining their business models, securing investment, and scaling successfully. She's also managing director of Cian Associates, a strategic consulting firm specializing in market expansion, digital transformation, and brand development with clients across the Caribbean. I'd also like to welcome Tiffany Sullivan. She is the founder and CEO of Green Carib Limited, a pioneering Jamaican circular economy company focused on building sustainable infrastructure and recycling supply chains. She's spearheading the development of Jamaica's first hurricane-resilient, off-grid material recovery facility, helping to transform tourism and commercial waste into valuable export-ready materials. In addition to her entrepreneurial work, Tiffany has over 15 years of experience leading business transformation and operational strategies for global organizations. Test. Okay, great. I'm not a technical person at all, so I'm glad I know how to turn on the mic. Thank you, all of the panelists. And Minister Seabright, first question is for you. We see that more of the diaspora wants to return home, perhaps because of the geopolitical challenges that are ongoing. And the government has, over the years, implemented a range of reforms aimed at improving the investment climate. What message would you like to send to members of the diaspora who may not yet be aware of how much Jamaica's investment destination has changed?
Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you to the members of the diaspora. I hope you realize there are 4 women on this stage, so you know who's running the country. Yes. So the women are in charge here. Just want to reinforce that point. But beyond that, absolutely. Jamaica is the most stable, most investable it has been in many years. We highlighted the economic developments, which have been amazing. Things are not perfect, absolutely not. There's still a lot of work to be done. And there are still a lot of Jamaicans who need to get into the middle class, who need to have proper disposable income and so on. But the opportunities are absolutely here. We're also impressed by the developments on the social development front as it relates to crime and violence, because that has been a big bugbear for Jamaica's growth and development over the years. The perception that the country is not safe is something we have to tackle head on. And we have to get the word out there that we have made the most progress ever in modern history in tackling the monster of crime and violence, and we still have ways to go. But beyond that, the country is ripe for investment. We have so many companies locally that are expanding, including Grace Kennedy, Seprod with Cinco and others. But also at the micro business level, there are a lot of companies and entities that are doing pretty well, and we want to encourage members of the diaspora to get on the ground in Jamaica. Get out of New York, get out of Miami, get out of Chicago, Toronto, London, spend a week or 2 in Jamaica, talk to people, connect with our key agencies like JAMPRO and JSASA, and really get a feel of the environment here. Because there are a lot of investment opportunities. One in particular that a number of diaspora members have done well in is, of course, in operating Airbnbs. A number of them have done very well and now have multiple units under management. And beyond that, there are a lot of opportunities too in the commercial real estate sector and beyond. The other panelists, of course, can respond further to some of these issues.
Thank you, Minister. And as we have members of the diaspora here today, how can they contribute more than capital? How can we leverage their experience, their technology, their techniques to strengthen local business and expand exports, Minister? Question to you again.
As we pointed out before, Jamaica is really very well positioned, and we're an English-speaking country. As a matter of fact, I like to joke that we have more English speakers than Miami, Florida. It's true. We're the 3rd largest English-speaking nation in the Western Hemisphere, actually. We are after the United States, Canada, and there is Jamaica. Our position makes us perfectly suited for logistics, the growth of our logistics sector. We're in the middle of the Western Hemisphere. We have a very advanced financial services sector. A number of members of the diaspora are plugging into that, and I know VM and JM have done a phenomenal job, but many other institutions too are doing an amazing job at driving investment and focus on Jamaica. We want to ensure that as many members of the diaspora as possible utilize common sense and utilize best practice in decisions that they make as it relates to investing in Jamaica. The export potential is there in specific niche industries, but it's good to be properly guided. And beyond that, there is a need to diversify the focus of Jamaica's diaspora in terms of what they invest in. A lot of people are in real estate, and that's great, but there are many more opportunities out there. I'm happy Shulette made that presentation, that there are so many opportunities in energy, so many opportunities also incidental in healthcare, which needs a little bit more focus and focused attention. And of course, quite a lot of opportunity in warehousing, logistics, all that entire supply chain. Shulette pointed out that we have thousands of new hotel rooms coming on stream. Those hotel rooms need to be supplied with food, furniture, many other things. Some of these things, of course, come from overseas, but a lot of it is actually produced here in Jamaica. It's why companies like CPG and others do very well, because they supply that hotel sector. And with the monumental growth that's coming in certainly in the next 5 to 10 years, and you can see it on the corridor here, we need more persons to invest in businesses. Some of them will be micro businesses, and your focus is simply to get into the linkages and find ways to supply these sectors. There's one example, I know one company that has done very well in supplying uniforms to specific companies in Jamaica and hotels and so on, and it's extremely profitable. So look for these amazing opportunities, look at where the big growth trends are, and plug in your own small way in supplying something within that macro picture.
Thank you, and I love when you speak about my members. Sharon, as an angel investor and a venture capital advisor, I assume there's a lot of potential for direct foreign investment, diaspora partnerships, and community-based investment models to work together. What opportunities do you see for mobilizing capital into projects such as modular housing, climate resilience, and community infrastructure for Jamaica?
Morning, thank you for that question, and good morning. I want to, at the top, say I'm a returning 22 years, so it wasn't yesterday. So I don't know if I still qualify as a returning, but I've been home 22 years. One of the things that I looked for when I was making the decision to return home, and it's something I knew I was going to do from a young child, so I was never situated in very well, but I knew I was coming home, was really look for opportunities where I can bring back some of the knowledge, and I was very fortunate. I worked with Pricewaterhouse and Accenture, corporate finance, merger and acquisitions, and my thinking was, how do I bring those skill sets to Jamaica? Because one of the things I saw is that even then the challenges is access to capital. So for you first, and we heard about the $1 billion opportunities. Really what makes an economy are those small, micro and small businesses. That's what runs the economy at the heart. So how do we give those businesses access to capital? So I got involved in the Angel Network very early on, about 15 years ago now, deliberately targeting small businesses. Local small businesses, and that's open to any of our diaspora family. I was expecting that we'd get an influx via my network in the UK, but it's difficult. I think what we've seen in the last 20 years for me is tremendous amounts of work. I think we've heard about it today. It's been tremendous. I'm very, very protective of Jamaica now because people knock it. It's an amazing opportunity. Didn't mention Development Bank of Jamaica, who has done an amazing work for the small business sector around capacity building. They offer grants. They actually co-invested in some of the projects I've invested in as a convertible debt that will go onto the business as well. And they're doing really innovative ways of supporting that sector, because it's such an important sector, so I welcome that. So that's one avenue for people looking to come home before you even make that move. There are angel investing. I focus more now on venture capital investing, which is the next stage up. So if you think about the ecosystem, really you need to exit out of an angel investment. You might do it a venture capital. Not the Silicon Valley type, because we're in the Caribbean, so the types of deals are very different. But they're again focused on things that is really going to make Jamaica more resilient. So following Melissa, we shifted and put in a lot more effort on technology around construction. And so we talk about modular, it's really prefabricated in factories, and so you can deploy a house in weeks rather than months. So from design into upstanding, and it's been happening around the world. We're seeing it in Jamaica. The first factory is actually up and running for business here in Jamaica that will develop the modular solution. It's one of our investments, Modular Jamaica. And we're seeing more people wanting to do that so that we can do everything from, and the target is affordable housing. So we had an affordable housing crisis in Jamaica before Melissa. So post Melissa now, Jamaica, along with other Caribbean islands, are in desperate need of affordable housing stock. And this is what the modular solutions are going to focus on. And this is where you can look to, and I'm not soliciting for investors, I'm not allowed to do that, we're registered offshore, so, but just saying, no, using vehicles like M-Scale, which gets access to the deals. Cygnus is another institution here that you can invest via. Proven are doing some very interesting real estate deals, REITs that you can access as well. And there are other institutional, local Jamaican companies that are doing investments that are accessing it. It's a challenging region because the returns on the investment is not great and it's not fast. If you think about the US, they're looking for quick returns. And in this particular segment, because you're looking at sub 1 million US, maybe 5 million deal, they're almost too small for some international investors to look at. They are looking at the bigger deals. So you've got the institutions like M-Scale, Proven, Cygnus, and those groups that you can actually, and Angels that you can access to get great opportunities. I think I tell everybody modular is the thing. It's going to disrupt the construction industry and it's going to make a lot of Jamaicans very wealthy, but also bring housing stock, much needed housing stock.
Thank you, Sharon, and I liked how you show the difference between venture capitalism. We think of Silicon Valley, but in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, it's a much different story. So thank you for bringing out those highlights. Tiffany, over to you. You have built a company that operates completely off-grid. Something many investors view as ambitious and expensive. What drove that decision, and what would you say to investors about how they should think about the upfront costs versus the long term of resilience and sustainable infrastructure?
I like that you got right to the heart of it. Hi guys. With regards to building off-grid, it's not that expensive. So one of the things I want everyone to do is rethink alternative energy. If you're operating in the special economic zone, which we will be, you don't pay tariffs on imports. So there you go. You reduce the price of acquiring the off-grid technology. And I want to go into a little bit about how we're operating off-grid. So we're utilizing dispatchable solar and biogas. The biogas is from the food waste coming from the hotel industry. So one of the first things I thought about before doing Green Carrot was, how am I going to power the place? Electricity is expensive in Jamaica. We all know that. How are we going to do this? So yeah, I think the first thing a business owner should think about is how you're going to power your facility and obviously utilize alternative energy.
Thank you. And you and I spoke about global initiatives such as Bloomberg's Fast Infra platform. They work to unlock capital for sustainable infrastructure projects, and they have a focus on Jamaica. What lessons can Jamaica take from these efforts, and how can we better position local projects to attract climate-focused investment?
Right. You may have to remind me of some of the secondary and third elements of that question. I'll answer the first one. So talking about Bloomberg Fast Infrastructure debt platform, a little synopsis of what it is. When you're trying to get money or acquire a loan to build an infrastructure project, you can't go to a retail bank. You need to go to a bank, predominantly a development bank. And a lot of these development banks have not been able to money into the Caribbean because they didn't meet certain ESG metrics. So what Bloomberg did was create a platform that all the development banks can utilize that standardizes the application process and speaks directly to ESG components. So what's your gender parity? How many men to female do you have working? What's the age of the employees that you have working? How much are you paying people? Are you paying them ethically? Not per the minimum wage, but per the actual cost of living, you know? How many hours a day are they working? So sustainability is not just about, are we using solar energy versus gas? Sustainability is about, are we treating our workforce in a humane manner? And I highly recommend using the Bloomberg infrastructure platform. If you see me after this session, I'll be happy to share the information with you because they're looking to fund infrastructure projects specifically in Jamaica.
Thank you, Tiffany. Shalette, over to you. Beyond direct investment, how can JAMPRO help connect diaspora networks to export opportunities and global value chains that will affect Jamaican businesses?
Right, so I think we could take it from the dual role of investment and exports. So we start on the investment side. One of the things that we do is work with our diaspora members that want to invest in Jamaica, and I would encourage our diaspora to talk to JAMPRO. Tiff and I were talking about this a few days ago, about the fact that a lot of diaspora people tend to not come to us because either they're intimidated by the fact that it's a government agency, or two, because they're Jamaican, they think they know how to get into business in Jamaica. But it's very important that our diaspora members engage with us to understand how to access incentives, how to find land, how to leverage the land that you already have, how to partner with DBJ and get additional funding for their projects. So that's step one. Step two is utilizing our regional offices to get into overseas markets. So JAMPRO still maintains offices in London, New York, and Toronto. And we use those offices primarily for our export mandate, and we try to get into the markets at least once a year with our Minister Steve Wright and myself just came back from London about a month ago, where we brought companies with us. And what was interesting about this first time, we brought companies, Jamaican companies that were in the market. So Grace Kennedy, who maintains an office in London, actually came with us on a mission into Ireland. And so as a member of the diaspora, as a company that is Jamaican, you still have access to JAMPRO services to find markets once we're selling goods and services that are Jamaican. And one of the things that we find very often is a lot of the products that we are selling in those markets, companies will decide to set up their shop to invest in Jamaica and then practically sell it to themselves in the overseas market. So you have two business interests going at the same time in Jamaica, and then the importer distributor in the overseas market. And that's a model that works very well for our diaspora extended family, because sometimes it's the Jamaican side of the family running the Jamaican business and the overseas side running the overseas business. So all of those models are things that we're very familiar with and we're standing ready to help our diaspora to tap into.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to take about 2 questions from the audience. There are microphones in the aisles, I believe. Don't be afraid, we won't buy it. Oh, I can.
Are you ready for the questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. So when we talk about economic development, trade, and investment, of course, for the diaspora, we are the harbors and ports of entry are very important. And so on behalf of the diaspora, and the diaspora in the Bahamas in particular, we are calling upon the government to restore the ownership of our harbors to the people of Jamaica. We are calling upon you to rescue us from the control of multinational, multi-billion foreign conglomerates like CNA, KFTL. And if you can't rescue us now, we ask for you to renegotiate the terms of agreement with entities like this, especially in times
Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to just limit it to a question because we have a short time.
And so could you please, this is the question then, could you please rescue us? Okay? Especially in times of disaster. We, in the case of Bahamas, had 3 40-foot containers of hurricane relief supplies for the suffering people of Western Jamaica. By the time these conglomerates charged us all sorts of fees, demurrage detention, this, that, and that, we ended up being charged over $40,000 US, over 6 million Jamaican dollars, and we, the Hummingbirds Association, is a non-profit organization there. And so, by the time we finish paying and getting waivers, our containers sat there for 7 months.
Okay, thank you.
7 months in the harbor.
Thank you so very much. Can we give her a round of applause, please? We absolutely. Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Ask you to rescue.
Absolutely. Give us 1 second.
And to change the system.
No problem. We hear you.
Can come into the country.
We absolutely hear you.
Into the country.
We absolutely hear you. We value you. We respect what you're asking. Hold on. Give us 1 second. Give us 1 second, my darling. Another round of applause for this woman, please. Please forgive me for stepping in. We have her question. We're going to ask if there's anyone on the panel who could possibly take her question. My dear, we have someone on the panel who'd be lovely, who'd be in a position to answer you right now. If you just give her an opportunity. Shulette, over to you. And before Shulette, we actually do want this to be as interactive as possible. We also want to be very considerate that there's so many people who have flown to ask their questions, so we ask that you keep your questions as brief as possible so that the experts can answer you accordingly. Thank you. Shulette, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So the process of making a shipment, whether by air or sea, actually has a number of people that are involved in the process. I want to assure you, when it comes to our port infrastructure, both our airports and our seaports, our government of Jamaica has maintained control of all our ports. And that has been a policy decision of this government. The airports and our Kingston Container Terminal are still owned by the government of Jamaica, but they are operated by private sector companies under concession with very precise terms and conditions as to how they operate, and term limits that at the end of those limits, the concession is reviewed to see whether or not they should continue to operate our ports. And our Samson International, Norman Manley, and Kingston Container Terminal are all operated in that manner. There are some elements of the ecosystem of shipping that are completely owned by private sector, and a part of that is the shipping lines. And the shipping lines are not a business that the government of Jamaica has entered into. And we are aware of challenges with shipping prices, which are diverse, they're global, and it's not a Jamaican challenge only. And there are issues that I know at our ministry, at customs, at port authority, at airport authority, that we continue to try and address. And we understand the frustrations. It's frustrating for us as well. And thank you for raising those issues though, but I do want to assure you that when it comes to the infrastructure itself, that the government of Jamaica is monitoring that, and we continue to own those assets, and we have a policy decision not to give up ownership of those national assets. Thank you.
Catherine, so we move to the next person. I believe this gentleman, if you could be as brief as possible, please.
Thank you. So, my name is Richard, I live in Canada, proud Jamaican, patriot, okay? I'm extremely proud of the direction in which Jamaica is going, and I recognize the growth and investment potential. Jamaica has enormous opportunity, and I do agree there's no greater time to invest. However, the administrative process can feel slow, redundant, and overly manual. What is being done to enhance business setup, reduce bureaucracy, and make investment, especially from the diaspora, faster and more predictable? For us in the diaspora, speed is imperative to facilitate our investment ideas.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent question. Bureaucracy and red tape have been a huge frustration across multiple administrations. Significant work now has gone into reducing bureaucracy, digitizing quite a number of the processes that we have, and we also have, of course, John Purchases and other entities that have taken a more frontal approach to deal with issues that are affecting the diaspora. I want to assure you too that Ambassador Audrey Marks was appointed to deal exactly with a lot of the issues that we're having with bureaucracy and red tape, and also to ensure that we fast-track digitization across the entire administration. I can assure them to give further responses as it relates to the more specific administrative measures that have been put in place to address the concerns. It's not fully addressed yet, but we're making some progress so far.
Thank you, Minister. So in terms of the digitization of government, there are a number of processes that have been digitized already and are available online at the JamaicaBusinessGateway.com. We are in the process of even adding more processes to that platform where you will be able to make certain applications. There are government agencies that have standalone systems. For example, the Companies Office of Jamaica, registering your business is a completely online process. And this is part of why we encourage you to talk to Jamco so that Jamco can put you onto the resources rather than you looking and trying to figure it out yourself. While it's kind of a walk and chew process because we're doing the digitization, but you do need the agencies to handhold you while we get there. And I just want to ask Tiffany, because Tiffany is a client and she has recently gone through the experience of setting up her business in Jamaica using these services.
Yeah, so hi, a New Yorker here. Anyone from Harlem? No? Okay. So, coming here, I had to really respect the culture. This is not New York. Jamaica has its own way of doing things. So I would say, if you're gonna be a business person here and you want to be taken seriously, respect the process. That's number one. Respect the process. Number two, get a good lawyer. My lawyer set up all my bank accounts. Happy to help also make those connections with you. We have a ton of really young lawyers that are Gen Z, they're smart, they're quick. I mean, my lawyer gets back to me in 20 minutes. She's fabulous. And she's affordable. So that's the next thing, was supporting the next generation of young legal professionals. The third thing is, have a good relationship with your JAMPRO contact. My JAMPRO contact expedited everything for me and helps me understand the things that maybe aren't on the website. Because no website can contain all the information, right? And then the last thing is, we know this country runs on links. Links, L-I-N-K-S, links. So when you see someone in business and they seem to be navigating it well, make friends with them, drop that. There's a competitive nature that some business owners have. I'm not competitive. If you meet me, if you come and talk to me, I'm always willing to share any information I have because we all can win if we work together. This is about partnerships. So And on that note, can I say something really quick? One of my partners, Alicia, another fellow, I graduated from MIT, she graduated from MIT with her MBAs. She's an engineer, she has a company called Resilient Grid. My partner, James Watkins, is from the UK. I met him here at the Diaspora Conference in 2024. This is partnership with the Diaspora and partnership with JamPro in action. That's what I represent.
Thank you, and I know we have other questions, but unfortunately we have a hard stop as I believe the Governor General is almost here to do his awards. But the members of our panel will be available, I'm sure, and with JamPro has a booth, so we will be able to entertain questions after. I send everybody to JamPro, of course, and I think Tiffany did a very good job in plugging them, if we did it earlier. So I really want to thank Minister of State, Delana Seabright, Mrs. Shillette Cox, Sharon Roper, and Tiffany for making the panel today. Please give them all a round of applause.
Thank you so very much. To the persons who are standing at the microphone ready to ask your questions, we do apologize because of the question limit. However, we do have a government at your service hub, and we also have the marketplace that might be able to actually give you the kind of information you need. Now please, it would be remiss of me not to say this. As Jamaicans, we are extremely passionate about the things that we love and about the changes that we want to see. But this is an area that our views can contend, but we just simply ask that it is done in a manner that allows for the conversation to happen in as nice a way as possible. Is that okay? Can we do that? So we want you to ask your questions, and we want you to be absolutely passionate about the things that you stand on. But we also want to stand on very good, valued, and principled business. I want to thank the moderator, Catherine, for really taking us through a fantastic job, and for our presenters. So what happens next? I just said that we have our government at your service hub, we have our marketplace. We are going to have a 30-minute coffee break. But we will come back for that break for what is going to be one of the most meaningful moments of the conference, and that is the Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Awards. So we will see you at 12 o'clock back in the room for that award ceremony. Please. So we ask that you exit through these doors, the ones that are to the far left and the one right in front of me. Have your coffee break, please network, go to the government at your service hub, and we will be back to celebrate some of the amazing members of the diaspora doing fantastic work. We ask that you use the exit doors to the far left, which will be your far right. Thank you for your kind cooperation. We will see you back for the Governor General Awards. And we invite you to celebrate these outstanding individuals. We ask that you use your doors to your far right. We ask you to use the doors to your far, it will be your far right. We ask you to exit using those doors. Feel free to mix, to mingle, to network. Keep abreast of all of the programs and sessions to come. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, could we just have you exit the room as quickly as possible? We actually have to set up for the Governor General's award. So we're just asking if you could kindly exit the room as quickly as possible, just so that the team can come in and set up accordingly, please.